everyone, and welcome back to Travel Time with Sam. In today's episode, I will be speaking to the one and only my sensei, Terumi Kai. Hello, Terumi.
Hi. Hi,
Konnichiwa,
Samantha.
sensei. Genki desu ka?
こんにちは。はい、元気です。
Subarashi. So, if anyone doesn't know, we just said hello. Well, good afternoon, and how are we in Japanese? Terumi, in my last episode, I discussed about solo traveling and why I think it's important we should try solo traveling at least once. And I thought the best person to ask such a question would be my Japanese teacher who has solo traveled, you. So today I'm going to ask you some questions about your travels, and I'll also be asking if you can give any advice for anybody who's thinking about solo traveling. So first question is I want to ask is what was your very first travel experience and where did you go?
I mean, in Japan, right? Inside Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside Japan, first traveling. Let me think because it's since I was a child. Because okay, like something. Let's say my first trip was my boyfriend. Yeah, was I think inside Niigata, and then it was it's called Nagaoka.
Right.
And Nagaoka in Japan, in Niigata, Niigata is a northern Japan. It's a 2 meter snow place.
Right.
And then we visit in the summer. It's a really nice place for the ski and snowboarding. And the summer is actually you can enjoy the fireworks.
Oh, cool. And was that the very first time that made you want to travel more, or was there another time that made you want to go again?
And here that Nagaoka.
Yeah, was that the very first time you were like, oh, I want to travel and see more things? Was that the very first time that made you want to travel more?
I mean, like in that time it was I was a student, right? So that's why I couldn't go very far away because this time I was living in Niigata, and Nagaoka from my home is still like 2 hours by car and quite far. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right,
So
cool.
that was like a first trip, maybe. Yeah.
Your very first trip. My very first trip away from home was in Northern Ireland, and it was with the school choir. And it was fun because we've technically left Scotland, a country, to go to another one, and I was like 12. That was my very first time leaving my family to go traveling. So another question I really want to know is what made you want to leave Japan, and why did you go to Europe of all places to go and see?
Why I came to Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Japan is still big, you know, from northern Japan, which is Hokkaido, to southern Japan. Okinawa is very different, you know, like all the time tropical island, Okinawa, like 20 degrees to minus 20 degrees in Hokkaido, but still you can really enjoy like a whole Japan. But, you know, I grew up in Japan whole my life, 30 years, and I wanted to just discover a totally different place. That's why I came to Europe.
Yeah. And where was the first place you went to in Europe? Was it Greece the very first place, or did you go somewhere else?
No, just a moment. It's like I for the first time my trip in Europe is Switzerland actually.
Was it Switzerland? Oh wow.
Yeah. That but when I was a kid. So my parents met in Switzerland and they are huge fan of Switzerland.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's why I remember when I was a kid, like I visited Switzerland. It was a high mountain. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I never knew that. Like, do you know how to ski? I remember we spoke about winter sports before.
I'm so bad at skiing.
Well, I'm bad at snowboarding too. I can understand. I enjoy it, but I'm bad at it. Have you ever been to anywhere like Paris or anything like that? Or
no, actually, unfortunately, I've never been to France.
Wow.
I have been to London, but I've never been to Scotland though. I really want to visit, but yeah, London in Europe is Greece, UK, Switzerland, Germany, and a little bit Austria. yeah, I think that's it. I think.
Wow. But you've got more, and I know you'll go and visit more places when you have the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Because I know how
definitely.
busy you can be. But yeah,
like Italy, for example, Paris
yeah.
also. It's like so close, right? Like then okay, maybe like next month or next year, and then like I postpone, and I'm waiting, to finish this COVID, so yeah, I can go everywhere.
I know. I feel the exact same way. As you know, I'm dying to go to Japan. And I'm just hoping this whole pandemic thing will be, I know it won't end, but I'm hoping it'll be quieter next year for me to go. So that's the dream at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Paris isn't a place you haven't been yet. When I was in Japan, like a lot of like the like Harajuku Street, the stores, they're all inspired by Parisian kind of outfits.
Really?
Yeah. Like the Lolitas, like all Marie Antoinette kind of costumes.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, Japanese people are huge fan of Paris, right? I mean, like Paris, London.
Yes.
Everybody want to go. Yeah.
And I've heard like there's this thing where that's kind of a common problem where if you're in Paris and then you're there but you're disappointed because it's not meeting your expectations. I heard that.
It's called Paris syndrome in Japan. It's called.
So you've heard of it?
Paris syndrome. They expect like a, like a castle and then like a Lolita, this amazing beautiful place, but it's actual Paris is a bit sometimes dirty, and they actually really disappoint. But that's why it's called Paris syndrome. And also London syndrome, I think exists.
I've been to both cities and I can totally agree. Like I feel Paris, it was cool, the Eiffel Tower, Disneyland and stuff like that, but I didn't really have a great experience in Paris. I thought that people were really mean to people, but I remember once I just innocently asked this lady, like, can you speak English and French? And she just went, yes. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry I asked. And in London, I'm just not a big fan of London. If I was to go to a big city, I would go to Edinburgh, represent.
So I mean, but it's a lot of Japanese people love Paris, London. Yeah.
And I'm kind of sad if they get disappointed, because that's such a long journey and such a lot of money to spend as well. Scary to move to Greece, like, because I know it's not a very big population for Japanese people in Greece.
I mean, most of Japanese people, when they decided to move to Europe, is definitely Paris, London. Yeah. But then, it's, I think, Germany, because there are many manufacturing industry company. Greece is definitely not commonplace. I mean, it's, for example, I think Germany, I don't know, 40,000 Japanese people, 100 people. So that's why, like, most of people doesn't choose, of course. Right. So that's why Greece was very relevant choice. But it's for me personally, just it was nice, like a beautiful weather, nice sea, and then it was like a big challenge to learn different language. So there's no Japanese community, so I can try maybe more than just Paris, London. There are big Japanese community, so that's why maybe I cannot enough challenge. So I wanted to challenge a totally different place.
And you've mentioned before to me once that you've got a couple of friends that live in Athens, is that right? And they're Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So it's not so bad. You're not like 100% alone, but you do live in the island of Crete, and I know I know that I think you're the only Japanese person I met when I lived in Crete for that summer.
There are more two or three.
Is there other two? Is there? All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because most of the people I met when I lived in Crete, they were either Dutch, German, or
British.
And British, yeah. There was a lot of us, British people, Dutch and Germans that I met, but very little people that are from Asia that I've met that lived in Crete. And another thing I wanted to ask is that, have you got any advice for anyone who's considering being a solo traveler and perhaps maybe considering moving to a different country?
Oh, yes, definitely I recommend. I mean, you guys live in Europe, UK, and it's very different culture in Japan. And once you're alive, definitely you should visit. But for me, it's like exciting to live in Europe. But for you guys, it's definitely excited to live in like Tokyo, Asia. I mean, whole Japan. And then definitely I'm gonna recommend a visit Tokyo, because Tokyo is, you know, like New York, like London. I don't know, it's a biggest city. But also what is a big difference is between New York, London, Tokyo. Tokyo is still a strong Japanese society, so you can really enjoy more Japanese culture. Big city, you imagine like London, New York, but it's totally different. It's really strong Japanese culture. You can really enjoy traditional Japan, and like a temple or a shrine, or like visiting like a more Japanese, how can I say, modern culture like Harajuku. Also, like this is a really original Japanese style, right? So like a pop culture to traditional culture. And if you, because most of Japanese people, most of foreigner maybe imagine like geisha or ninja or like this stuff, but still you can really see like a touristic place in Tokyo, like this place. And also, of course, definitely more countryside you should visit, like a more, if you don't have time, like just you visit in Japan only 2 weeks, but still you can go a little bit outside of Tokyo, like Yamanashi prefecture, like my hometown, like Mount Fuji, or like Nagano prefecture, that it has like a nice forest and like traditional houses, castle, nice. But also if you have time, like more 3 weeks, 1 month to spend time in Japan, then you can visit really southern Japan, that it's more local food, that it's very different from Tokyo. And then the volcano, or like a more southern sea, it's more warm place. Also you can visit more northern Japan, like Hokkaido. So I mean, like so many places, so I cannot tell like exactly, but you should definitely visit many places. And moving Japan is very different, I think. But to live in Japan, definitely you need a little bit language skill, because as I said, even Tokyo is still a strong Japanese culture, which means not many people can speak English. So if you can prepare a little bit, basic conversation, I think it's going to be great. You can really enjoy, you can visit like a bar or restaurant, you can a little bit speak with the people, you can meet a little more people and then make maybe friends. You can enjoy.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that was actually the next question I wanted to ask you, was that I know that you teach Japanese to people like me who are considering maybe going to Japan for work and to meet friends, maybe to study, etc. So that's what I wanted to bring up, is like what is you do, and what kind of things do you think people should prepare for if they're considering maybe going to Japan? And is there anything you would give for advice for people who want to live there and maybe want to study in Japan?
So as much as possible, I think you should prepare a little bit, just the basic communication, like go to the restaurant, you order something, or like go to the like shop, how much you can actually ask, like how much or what is this, like go to supermarket, like kind of survival like Japanese. If you can prepare, it's just really useful, like getting the train, you lost it and you don't know what to do, and you just ask the direction. Something like a survival Japanese, if you can really prepare, it's just easy. You don't, it's so difficult to find people who can speak English fluently. So it's just a survival Japanese. If you can prepare, that would be great. And also, I know a lot of British people already working in the international company in Japan. So finding the job is, I think, if you have a working visa and a little bit find a international company, I'm sure you can really find a job easily. But it's just outside of the work, still Japanese community is strong. So that's why if you know just the basic communication, you can just enjoy the life better. And then if you start working in Japan like 2 to 3 years, and you start practicing a little bit more Japanese, and then maybe you can switch the job more Japanese company, or like a more totally different job. So yeah, I think the first step is to prepare a little bit like a survival Japanese.
Right. That's really good advice, because a lot of the time when you taught me Japanese, it was sentences to prepare us in case if we were in an emergency situation where we need to ask where the nearest train station was and stuff like that. And if we're in a party, how do we order food in a restaurant? So that I do agree those skills will become very useful. I mean, yeah, I know that a lot of Japanese study materials like teach you like what color is this banana in Japanese, that kind of thing. But you really focused on actually getting us ready for living.
Because I just want to really help the foreigner to actually to enjoy the life in Japan more than just a little bit elementary school style Japanese. It's they just want to people. I think most of foreigners they just want to prepare for the survival Japanese just few months, not just the whole aspect of Japanese language to spend all 10 years because not easy language, right? So that's why I just want to help to prepare and to just communicate easily. And
I've got two last questions I thought were just kind of fun. Any food you recommend for us to try when we're in Japan, and any places you'd also recommend for us to see?
So especially I love Tokyo so much. So the recommendation in Tokyo to visit is a small izakaya in Shinjuku. Shinjuku is one of the biggest and the most famous place in Tokyo, but still small izakaya, small like a bar you can visit. Maybe some people speak English, but I think it's most of people speak Japanese, so you can really try local place and eat the basic izakaya, like a Japanese common dishes, for example, like a yakitori, like a grilled chicken, and also maybe you can try more sashimi, like fresh sashimi, like nice. Raw food. And also maybe if you want to try a little bit more challenging food, like maybe more local food, like a natto, or like also like a raw horse, like a basashi. Basashi is a raw horse. Even you can find a raw chicken.
I've never heard
but this
that
is
before.
only in Japan, right? Like you cannot really find Japan like a raw horse or raw chicken that it's oh my god, you can really eat. Only in Japan.
I've never heard of raw chicken. I know you can eat that in Japan, but I didn't know raw horse was a delicacy. Wow.
It's only in Japan for sure. I mean, raw tuna, raw like salmon, you can find everywhere.
Wow.
But like these things, I'm sure it's only in Japan.
Right. Yeah. I'm normally the one that will eat the weird and wonderful food, so I might try if I do see it.
I mean, you cannot imagine how delicious it is. We don't eat disgusting food. We really eat only delicious food. You can really trust like raw horse, raw chicken. If you're not vegetarian, definitely you should try.
I will trust you. And if I don't like it, I will be sending you a message to complain. So that's kind of all the questions that I've got for you, Terumi. But the last thing I would like is would you be able to give any other sort of advice you think would be useful to anybody considering traveling for the very first time on their own?
I mean, what is something nice advice? Maybe you should try to use like a Shinkansen, like a bullet train, or train, like a local train, like train is like a culture in Japan, so you should definitely try different type of train, like a bullet train, super fast one, and to local train, and that is very slow, but you can really go countryside. It's beautiful picture, maybe you can take it. So that I think train you should try.
I'll probably be using the train myself an awful lot when I go to Japan, and I used it when I was in Tokyo and it was really good, so I will be considering using train a lot. So
I mean, train not about just a subway though, like you can really go countryside. Train is nice,
because I was looking into the train that would take you from Tokyo to Hokkaido, because I would love to see that. So
a nice train, you can sleep in the train also. Nice.
That would be nice. That would be nice. So that's everything I have for you today, Turumi. Thank you ever so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And I just kind of want to give this opportunity now in case anybody would like to reach out to you. Maybe they're interested in your Japanese lessons. Is there any kind of like social media you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh yeah, thank you so much. So if you are interested in to learn communication with the Japanese, because I do this communication and speaking training, so you can follow Japan Language Factory on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And I can recommend. I was a student, so take it from me. So yeah, thank you ever so much for this time.
Thank you.
And I'll probably speak to you again at some point.
Yeah.
And like I said, anybody have any questions for Turumi, feel free to go find her on social media. That's all I have for today for Travel Time with Sam. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.